What's up, YouTube? ODST General back again, and today we are going to be talking about some EmergeNYC. So, this is going to be a conversation we've already had, so to those of you who have already heard this and understand why I'm saying this again, I do apologize. Feel free to skip this video. If you are a member of the development team or staff, I do ask that you guys watch this and keep an open mind. So I think maybe even the last time I did an EmergeNYC video, I had kind of talked about the state of the game. And this time around, I was going to record the internal build of 7.6 to show off the new academy, show off some of the new functionality and all that stuff. Just give everybody an idea what to expect and, kind of talk about that. But, I saw some stuff on the Discord, which I now largely avoid. Thanks in large part to incidents like this that I have to talk about. Like, I tried to record just the 7.6 and I couldn't do it. Like, I couldn't keep my mind focused on it without thinking about this other stuff. So I have to talk about this other stuff first. So to get to the point, ultimately what this comes down to, and the too long didn't read of it we'll start off with, is the staff and the dev team need to communicate better with the community as a whole, and the community needs to treat new members or other members of the community a lot better. I've said this before, like I said, but, despite the fact that the staff and the dev team have said we're working on improving this and that, I still see basically all the same stuff that I've complained about before, that other people have been really critical of the dev team before, and I feel like it's hurting EmergeNYC. I feel like if I don't address this will continue, and it will continue to hurt the game. And the thing is that while I am being critical of the dev team, while I'm being critical of the game, I like the game. I know a lot of people have a hard time playing it. It works fine on my computer, though, and I do enjoy my time spent playing the game. My only biggest gripe is that I don't get to play it more often with more people, but hopefully that will be changing with the release of 7.6. Anyways, the biggest two incidences that really come to mind, though, with this, the ones I want to talk about, one just I was reading today, and I'm sure it's something that's been on the Discord probably every day that I haven't been on there too, but, like I said, I largely avoid it. So, I hopped onto the Discord today to just basically see if anything had changed, see if the way the community interacted with, new members with critiques and stuff like that, people being critical of the game had improved. It has not. It really hasn't, unfortunately. And I was going through, I guess this was actually yesterday, looking at the timestamps, but, there was somebody basically, calling this game a scam. I don't think it's a scam personally. There's a lot of things to be critical of. I do genuinely still believe that the development team wants to see this game finished. And development side, they've definitely improved in a lot of ways, but not with the community handling way of things. And so, not everybody who comes into the EmergeNYC community has, game development experience. In fact, I suspect a large majority do not. But the fact is that the dev team treats them like they should know every aspect of game development, what sort of holdups there might be, why performance might be bad for some people and not others. They expect them to just all instantaneously know that. They expect them to know where every bit of news is on the Discord because, they're brand new there and they should know exactly where everything is. Like it's been laid out in front of them with a diagram with arrows pointing to everything they need to know. And I get it. The same questions over and over and over do get tedious. I work in service currently and I get the same thing at work. But the thing is if I went off on a customer or a patient in the way that the dev team or staff members do to the EmergeNYC community, I would be fired. I would be fired so fast. And yet they continue to do it and they think, okay, well, it's fine. It's our game. And, these community members, they're bad and they're toxic and this and that. Well, maybe they are. But at the same time, there are people who are either have spent money on EmergeNYC or are potentially looking to. And while you might see them as toxic, they have legitimate concerns, at least to them, that they're just trying to get addressed in often cases. And you guys are either telling them that basically they're wrong, they shouldn't have any concerns whatsoever without giving a reason, or like kicking them, or, the whole community, which is really frustrating to see, is just sitting there berating them and telling them, well, don't push Raph, or don't push, Donut. They work so hard, and, Raph will have a breakdown, this and that. Well, one, that's not that person's responsibility to make sure Raph doesn't have a breakdown. Raph should see a psychiatrist, or he should just not push himself so hard. And I get it. Like, there's a lot of pressure from the community and from those people to see this release, but they paid for a product at the same time. And, if Raph says, hey guys, I'm working as hard as I can without like killing myself, people are going to understand that. Like, the whole point that they had a staff created, though, all these people with orange, like Sliding Mike, Steven, Diamond Esky, all those people were basically created, given that position, to communicate with the community, to say, hey, this is what's going on with the game. This is what's being developed right now. This is what's being worked on, so that the dev team didn't constantly have to field those questions. But instead, these are the same people that are just jumping down the throats of anybody critiquing the game. And it's like, that's not your job. That hurts the game by jumping down those people. There's people on the Steam who are being very, very critical of the game, and they're just murdering all the Steam reviews and stuff. And last time I looked, the game was mixed, or maybe even like somewhat negative the last time I looked with the responses to it. And that is in large part due to the way the community is talked to. The people being critical of the game are treated very poorly. And if it's not being done so by the devs or the staff, it's being done by the community, which blows my mind, because this is a community of people who are either first responders themselves or are fans of the profession. You wouldn't do that at your department, I would imagine. You have to come very conduct becoming. No, don't get me wrong. I've seen some things on my very short stint at the fire department that were definitely not professional, but at the same time, that was always, between firefighters, that was always kept very close to the chest, and, that wasn't directed at victims. That wasn't directed at patients or, people with concerns about the fire department. I was told this story one time in the fire department, and we had this big fire briefly before I joined, and it had been like a 50-acre field fire, and a whole bunch of departments had gotten involved. And one of the first responding... Oh, sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. Somebody's going to try and message me. I'll try to remember to cut that out. I probably won't. But anyways, like I was saying, this crew was from one of my stations. They were one of the first responding engines to this massive field fire, and they had gone in and they'd gone out into the field because there had been a big drought, and they were trying to put out the fire, and the wind was really bad, and of course it's a farm field during a drought. Everything's just burning like crazy. And the wind shifted, the fire started coming at them. They'd already been out there for a while, and they had to basically leave equipment and run because the fire was coming at their engine. And they had to basically just drop the equipment, leave, and, ended up going back, getting water, And one of these guys, the guy telling me this actually, was a former Marine. He said it was so hot out there, every one of them, himself included, was like throwing up out in this field. But the fire started to spread towards a residential area nearby. And, they got there, they got water, went back, and they got redirected to this residential area to help protect the housing there. Well, you've got a guy out there with a garden hose trying to put out this field fire, which was never going to happen, of course, but he is really angry at them. He's saying this guy was yelling at them because... they were just finally getting there. It took them forever to get there. Now, I know, because of the perspective I was told by this guy, that they were already out there, that they were giving it all. They're throwing up. They nearly got hit by the fire, nearly hit the engine, nearly got them. And this guy doesn't know that. This guy is, in this case, the community, the dev team being the firefighters in this case. They're sitting there, they're trying to put out the fire, develop the game in that case. And, what we can see is only a glimpse of what the devs can see, and the devs and staff don't seem to understand that. They seem to think that we're there for every bit of development that we can watch every 10-hour stream, because we don't have day jobs and all this other stuff. And that's simply not the case. But you know what? When that guy yelled at the firefighters from my station, they didn't yell back at him. They didn't berate him. They didn't treat him like garbage. because we were trained that basically when you're in that situation, that is that person's like worst moment of their life, basically, in a lot of instances. You know, you're seeing people at their worst. You know, you're seeing people whose homes are either, you know, being destroyed, at the risk of being destroyed. You know, in medical instances, you're seeing people, you know, naked and vulnerable and all this other stuff in some cases. And, you know, people are going to be angry. They're going to be frustrated and confused. And that's kind of certain members of the community right now. But instead of treating them with respect, with understanding, we come in here and there's long-term community members who watch my channel, I know, that treat these people poorly, that say, hey, don't push the devs, they're working very hard, but, you know, like, he's gonna have a meltdown, you know, you guys are asking for too much and this and that, instead of explaining like, hey, this is what's going on with the game, this is why development's taking longer. That does not happen. Instead, these people get bashed. And that's a big shame to me. And, you know, like I said, people who are themselves first responders should all understand this. And I get it's harder to take that home and keep that in every aspect of your life, but it is worth bearing in mind that that is the case. Beyond that, of course, is the devs and the staff. The devs and the staff, though, is as important as I think this is for the community to understand and know. This is vital. It's of the utmost importance that the devs and staff understand this. Like I said, that is basically the sole purpose of the staff position, is to liaison with the community and say, hey, this is what's going on, to answer the 50 million questions of when's the next update coming out, you know, and do that both professionally and, you know, with respect. It's not hard. Well, okay, sometimes it can be hard. I will say that. It is difficult sometimes. Sometimes it takes everything you have, but it still needs to be done, regardless. Because guess what happens is you get people like Arctic Spider and other people on the Steam review page bashing the game, and, you know, every time there's a review, they are commenting on their story of what happened to them. They're commenting on all the flaws of the game, calling the game a scam, calling it a money grab, all this other stuff. And either basically one of two things seems to happen in, you know, most of these scenarios is, one, either a dev will not respond to it. They will otherwise try to shift the blame and say, oh, well, you're in the wrong, or well, it was somebody else on the dev team's fault and that person's gone now, and stuff like that. And instead of just basically owning up and taking the hit on that, which would be very important, you know. So now you've got people bashing this game in the review. So what happens if somebody's on the fence about buying this game and they're not sure, so they want to look up reviews? Where are they going to go? The Steam review page, in all likelihood. Why? Because, well, the game's for sale on either the Steam review page or their private website. So they go to the Steam review page. Where are they going to see? A bunch of bad reviews. They'll see some good reviews, but if you go and look at the reviews for this game and you look at them, most of the reviews saying this is a good game and here's why aren't really that detailed. It's like, yeah, this game's great. That's the good review. You go into the bad review and they're like, well, here's the problems with the game. It's like, here's this incident on this exact day, and this incident on this exact day, and this incident on this exact day of poor development. And then the game has, you know, issues with optimization, and the game has issues with development deadlines constantly being missed. And they have all these points. It looks really bad if you're a consumer on the fence. If you look at that objectively, if you look at that from the outside as either a developer or a community member, and you see where these people are coming from, you see what they're posting on there, and you continue to insult them and treat them poorly, they're not going to stop putting up bad reviews. That will only fuel them to put up more bad reviews, to continue telling people not to buy this game, because they are now on a crusade, because they've been treated so poorly, to stop anybody else from having to deal with that. That is what they're trying to do. You've given them the fuel to continue on to try and save somebody that you know, pain and suffering of having now purchased this game that was they had purchased, that they wanted to see come out, and just were so let down by that in the community. And, you know, like I said, I've said this all before, and it just doesn't seem to have hit home, unfortunately. You know, at the end of the day, you know, I cannot stress enough that if you're a dev and you're watching this, you're a staff member, you're watching this, please keep this in mind. I know there's a couple of you guys who are there, you're trying to do this, you know, you're putting in the effort, you're trying to be open-minded to criticism and stuff, that needs to happen, because like I said, I've seen incidents, just yesterday, of basically somebody saying this game's a money grab and, this is an investment. People go in here expecting this to be, completed further, and a staff member saying, well, no, you got your product. Well, no, because people are investing this. The dev team have basically stated, and the videos have said, this is what we want EmergeNYC to be. We want EmergeNYC to have firefighting. We want to have EMS. We want to have police. It's got firefighting. EMS was promised and police were promised in 2018. EMS just barely got implemented at the start of 2019. Police has not been implemented at all beyond some cop cars and a single police ped. So the deadlines have been missed, but those promises are made, and that's fine that the deadlines are missed. That thing happens. That'll happen in gaming. That happens to every developer at some point or another. But what the issue is that those promises were made. That is the goal for the game. This is what the game's pushing towards. And yes, you could say, well, there's a warning that this game might never go beyond development, but that's not a message you should be sending out. Like, well, yeah, but you paid for the game, but you shouldn't expect the game to ever be completed like it was promised. What? Just like everybody who posts that, I want you to think about that. If you watch this video, if you've ever posted this game is early access and it says right there that this game might not ever be complete, I want you to stop and think what kind of message that sends out when you say that. Like, truly think about that. That is a very bad message for a game. That is so terrible to say to somebody. Because I see that, it's like, yeah, I mean, it does say that. And I think I maybe made a mistake possibly of investing in this game, because if that's the message they're sending, obviously there's a strong belief somewhere in the community or in the dev team that this game will never get completed. Now, I don't truly believe that is the message that they themselves believe in, but that's the message they send out by saying stuff like that. It's mind-boggling to me, And then, just like I said, the other thing is when these dev team members have breakdowns, that's the other thing that still falls under this whole community communication thing. That cannot be public. That has to stop being public. And I get it, Raph's sitting there and he does, and I'm going to call Raph out by name here because this is, at least as far as I've seen, the only dev that's had a meltdown like this has been Raph himself. He seems like a nice guy sometimes, but, people, called him out saying, oh, well, he calls people at, 10 a.m. and doing this and that, or, calling him in the middle of the night with friends teasing, staff members and stuff like that. And I don't know if any of that's true, but what I have seen Raph do is I've seen Raph on stream have a meltdown, breaking his keyboard and all this other stuff in his house because he's pushed himself so hard. And he had this public meltdown. And yes, he had this meltdown working on the game, trying to get the game out and putting in effort. But people blame that on the community pushing him too hard. Well, he made a promise to the community. He's like, hey, we've got this Steam sale going out. Look at what we're about to release. We've got all this stuff. Put out this big video, this big trailer showing all of it working perfectly. And then none of it worked when they went to release it. So yeah, he was pushing himself hard, and people say it's because of the community, and yeah, it was, but that's because he made that promise to the community that this is what he's got. He can't have those meltdowns because that looks really bad. And then it wasn't just that, if it was just that, it's a one-off incident, it was really bad looking, but fine, it happens. We've all had, at least, if you're in a situation where you're in service or whatever, eventually you're going to push yourself hard enough, probably, where you're going to just become so frustrated that you just kind of snap. I get it. I do. But it didn't end just there. I don't know how long it's been. Maybe it's been like a month or so. I don't think it's been quite that long. But I saw somebody on the Discord, and they were being very critical of the game, of course. And like I said, this is where these incidences tend to arise from. And he was saying, hey, there's all these people being critical, and there hasn't really been any development and this and that. And Raph got really frustrated with that. And this is what your staff are supposed to be for. Yes, there's been development. Here's some, screenshots or videos to some of the builds and stuff that we have work in progress that's not made it out to release yet. But instead, Raph himself responded to this, despite the fact that they now have staff that are supposed to handle this. And he's like, no, we've been working on this. And he starts releasing all these pictures and stuff from the 5th Battalion multiplayer matches and this and that, which would be fine of itself. But then he tags at everyone every single time he posts a picture. So now everybody who's in the EmergeNYC Discord now has 8 notifications or 9 notifications, whatever it ended up being by the time he was done with this. And so what's everybody going to do? They're going to go there to those posts to find out why they just got spammed with 8 or 9 notifications. And you know what I found when I got spammed with 8, 9 notifications? Raph basically just beating on this guy because he's like, what's going on with development? And Raph's like, we're pushing ourselves super hard to come out with this, guys, and you know, you guys need to be more grateful. And then of course the EmergeNYC community being the EmergeNYC community, unfortunately, there was a whole bunch of people who jumped on this guy too, and instead of treating him with respect and saying like, hey, yeah, this is actually being developed, you know, it might not look like it's B, but here's what's going on, they started berating this guy and just treating him like garbage. And so of course, I've been critical of the game before. I've been critical of people, and I will call them out by name. I'm not afraid to do so. If they want to ban me from the Discord, take away my internal build status, they're more than welcome to do so. I would be very frustrated, and I will talk about that if it happens, but they're welcome to do so. But I will always try to be honest. I will always try to be fair. And, you know, if I look at that objectively, that was really bad. I mean, and I can't have been the only person to have looked at that. You know, I can't be the only person who saw that and didn't comment on it. Or, you know, sit there and look and go, why did that happen? How did that get out of control even so quickly? And to Raph's credit, he did eventually kind of realize, like, hey, this looks really bad. And he's like, okay, guys, stop. And it kept going. He's like, stop, guys. And then finally just ended up deleting the whole conversation, his comments included. But it shouldn't have gotten to that point. It shouldn't have spiraled out of control. That's why, like I said, you have your staff. That's what they're there for. And, you know, those questions are going to get asked as long as this game is being developed. No matter how much the community bashes these people, no matter how many times the devs or staff members snap on these people, those questions will continue to be asked by everybody. So we need to improve, because guess what? Like I said, that reflects poorly on the game. That hurts game sales, which hurts game development. If you want this game to continue being developed, you know, the game's going to need continued funding. I don't know. You know, I've heard the game's made close to $1 million. I don't know if that's accurate or not. I don't know how much they're going through, what their numbers look like as far as meeting their goals or any sort of stuff like that. But they need to be careful with that, because that does hurt sales, that hurts reviews, and it hurts the future of the game. And like I said at the start of this, or at least like I think I said at the start of this, I want to see EmergeNYC succeed. I do. I do. I think it's a good game. I think it has a lot of potential, but it is being hurt by the toxicity and the community and the dev team. It's not everybody. It's not, but it is a lot of people. It's important people in the community and the dev team that aren't handling things well. People who have been in for a long time who should know better by now, and you know, realize that while they've been in forever, not everybody has. But at any rate, guys, this was a pretty big rant. I don't know if it's ever going to reach anybody. The last one didn't seem to, for the most part, but hopefully this one does. And like I said, I know that there's at least certain aspects of the staff and the dev team working to try and improve community relations, community communication, but it's not happening fast enough. It needs to happen faster, and it needs to be better. It needs to be more foolproof. It needs to stop people having breakdowns and snapping on community members and forcing 8 notifications during a fight on people, because that reflects so poorly on the game. It really does. We are above that as a community. We're above that as a dev team, and we can be better. Anyway, guys, you know, just like always, this is, of course, an open conversation. That's the whole point of doing this. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are in the comments below. If you feel that I'm wrong, if you feel that I should be changing my mind, or if I'm missing something with the development of the game or the community relations, let me know in the comments below, guys. I'm open to that. I'm always willing to have that conversation with you guys to the best of my ability. Other than that, take it easy. I'll see you in the next video.